I don't want to say that we should take blame on either one. It's part of the course.
It's part of the par for the course.
It's part of it.
Par for the course. It's a golf term.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't understand it.
Because each time you're supposed to do it in an allotted amount of times. Right?
No, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Oh, okay.
I actually did mini golf recently.
But, sometimes you hit it and it goes in the rough.
Yeah.
Sometimes it ends up in a tree.
Or if you're doing mini golf in Vegas, it goes into an asshole of an alien. Hello, welcome to Below the Trees podcast. We got a really great episode for you. Really thoughtful discussion where we agree to disagree on some points, I think. But we're happy to have you here. Join along. We get into AI, we get into culture and technology, and the printing press made an appearance. So why don't you take a seat, grab some popcorn, indulge with your time for a little bit. We're the Below the Trees podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you at the end. This is episode 17, right? Because 15 and 16 are the lost episodes. We actually opened up episode 16 mentioning that episode 15 was the lost episode, but during the editing process, mainly because of my fault, 16 is now a lost episode. So let's hope this one doesn't fall in that same ilk.
15's my fault.
Yeah, I'll take
same problem.
Yeah. I'll take fault for 16 because it was okay, and then we were looking at the audio and it was clipping quite a bit on John's mic, and then I turned it down too much where John was no longer let's just say he couldn't hear his wonderful thoughts and ideas.
I don't want to say that we should take blame on either one. It's part of the course.
It's part of the par for the course.
It's part of it.
Par for the course. It's a golf term.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't understand it.
Because each time you're supposed to do it in an allotted amount of times. Right?
No, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Oh, okay.
I actually did mini golf recently.
But, sometimes you hit it and it goes in the rough.
Yeah.
Sometimes it ends up in a tree.
Or if you're doing mini golf in Vegas, it goes into an asshole of an alien.
There you go.
So it gets stuck there.
Area 51.
Area 51. Still can't find that glowing ball. Actually, so I was in Vegas a while ago, and there is a mini golf. I think it's at the Golden Horseshoe.
Okay.
It's downstairs. They have like different stuff there. It's not part of the casino. There's no gambling down there. But they have this Twilight Zone golf course, and it's pretty awesome. Okay. It's all like characters and scenes from the Twilight Zone, and you're in mini golf, and it's actually a really cool place. I really enjoyed it there some time ago. And at the end, it gives you what the par is for the course. And I did terrible. I was well above the par. Definitely not below the par.
Handicap.
Well, because this is the episode that's going to get posted, and the previous episodes aren't going to get posted. This is sort of a welcome back to the podcast realm, because we haven't actually posted a podcast in some time. I think we discussed last time it was in January.
Yeah, we left Podcastistan.
We left Podcastistan for a period of time.
Got lost in the desert,
and we're back in the oasis, this time in a garage. Now, maybe you can't see it on the cameras, but we are the Below the Trees podcast, and typically we're below some trees. And I just want to say we still are below some trees, as there's a nice plant that's hovering above us.
There's trees outside.
And there's trees outside, so technically we're still below them. It's all a matter of perspective.
Right.
But, man, what's new? How's everything going? I know we started talking about the barn. Do you want to talk about the barn a little bit?
Okay. Let's see how we can weave this in there. So we're fixing cars, a friend of mine, and we're doing it with the intent so that we can essentially have a clubhouse.
Okay.
That's basically the bottom line.
And when you say clubhouse, it's not like an ordinary clubhouse, right? There's something associated with that clubhouse. Is that correct?
I mean, yeah, it's a membership to a private clubhouse where generally it's going to be car and car related things. We're next to 2 world-class tracks in California. So location wise, it's phenomenal for people who love racing. And so if you want a different place to store your vehicles so that you don't have to drive your track car to where you're going,
yeah,
you can just tow it. This gives an option, but more than anything else, it's just like giving a car community to where there is no community and just making a little place for us.
Yeah.
So we saw the opportunity to create a clubhouse when we saw real estate was for sale after selling another car. And so we said, what if we just made a place for this?
Yeah.
So we can do this. And eventually, I mean, we'd like to restore vehicles there, but currently it's making a space to hold events.
Yeah.
To start. And so the first kind of event would be more than likely just like a drive, cruise, just hang out, barbecue kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we can definitely open this up for our podcast.
Yeah.
And eventually will be and can be another space for us to do our podcast.
It's cool. At least for the podcast, and I mean, really anything, because it's like a big canvas. You can really make it how you want to make it.
Right.
Make a little set, studio, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
In addition to having the actual clubhouse.
Right.
I envision it for you like a cool speakeasy.
Part of
like
it.
The clubhouse portion, the membership only.
So I mean, if I'm expressing the dream, right, it would be to have a place. It's on the 138. The name of it is Collective 138.
Yeah.
You can look it up, www.collective138.com.
Yeah. Domain not for sale.
If you what?
The domain isn't for sale.
If you want to potentially be a vendor, this is your chance.
This is your big opportunity before it explodes.
Well, we'll see.
It will in time.
So essentially, though, with the vision of this clubhouse, it's just you're on the 138. You have an opportunity to get coffee because we would like to have a coffee shop available. And essentially, the other half of this coffee shop would be part of the clubhouse. So inside the barn, there might be that speakeasy. Potentially on the other side, that's where we're looking at. That's where we can have dining area.
Yeah.
To serve food. There's a car storage component to this business because it is a business in the end, but it's for our members.
Yeah.
So it is a nonprofit for the members to participate. So there's benefits to it. And really, the storage then allows for a workshop, a detail area, a photo area, and a place to really allow car enthusiasts to take full advantage of their cars. Our own little playground where we can host our own events, have food, get coffee, hang out, go home.
Yeah.
That's kind of the plan. That's the barn.
That's the barn, dude. Collective 138. Check it out. www.collective138.com. I am actually not affiliated with this in an intimate way, so I just I'm pumping you guys up, and hopefully that takes off. In the
that was by
future.
choice. Ah!
Yeah, it was kind of by choice, kind of, but I'm happy to be a tertiary peripheral member. I'll store my car there, my little beater.
We'll figure something out.
You see like Lambos and classic muscle cars and everything, and then there's going to be a 1998 Honda Civic.
Perhaps you don't know this, but Miatas are the preferred track car.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Because
I had a friend who drove a Miata for a long time.
Even if you have, all the money in the world to fix your car,
yeah,
if you don't know how to drive, then it ain't worth shit. And so you can't hide behind performance, like high performance or horsepower.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to drive, it shows up. And so if you keep your Miata stock, or you keep essentially the horsepower the same, and you just learn how to drive, then you can be lapping people who have way more power than you, but you just know how to drive better.
Yeah.
And so, ironically, a Miata is pretty common to have as a track car.
Interesting.
Because it just separates the drivers from everyone else.
From the boys.
Because you're not hiding behind horsepower. You're not hiding behind, money.
Yeah.
This is a beater.
Yeah.
It's probably old now. You
Yeah.
can have it in top-notch shape, but it's up to you to know how to drive it.
I had a friend at my old job, older guy, and his Miata was his dream car. I'm pretty sure he was a good driver. He'd only driven Miatas for, I don't know, for probably his whole entire adult life.
Sure.
So I'm curious. I'm curious how that guy drives. I assume pretty good.
Fair assumption.
Maybe he drives like shit and he crashed, and that's why he's had so many Miatas over the years.
There's your sign.
Well, John, before we kind of break out into today's episode, man, I really wanted to get into something that I think ties very well into what we're going to get talking about.
Seed oils.
Seed oils. No, we're not going to talk about seed oils. We're not going to light that fire just yet. Let's get back in the groove of things before we get really, really hot and controversial, all hot and sticky in here. Mm-hmm. No, so I know we talked about it on the last pod, but I think it still ties in pretty well, and that's Instagram.
Okay. What about Instagram?
And that is this lady on Instagram.
Oh, we're going there.
We're going there because it still makes me all angry inside thinking about it. Probably not as angry as I was the other day, but still fired up. Maybe just at an 8 instead of a 10.
Okay.
But just obviously, so we talked about this in one of the lost episodes. So since that's never going to go public, we're going to talk about it today in this episode. And I think it's still relevant because of the overarching topic. So let me set the stage for you. We're talking Instagram Reels. It seems like, I don't know about you, but it seems like the Reels are longer now. Like you can get, it's long form reel content. So it used to be 60 seconds, but now you can get, I think you can get as high as you want, really, just depending on the content. But the reel itself is generally a short form video.
Sure.
And this reel was about 3 minutes.
Okay.
So let me set the stage. Picture a backdrop of a nice beach, somewhere, I don't know, in the South Pacific. Hawaii, maybe a Hawaiian type beach, just very pristine and beautiful. And then picture very inspirational music. Hear the music collide with the sound of the waves into a beautiful crescendo. And there is our protagonist or antagonist. It really is all a matter of preference and frame of view. But in the backdrop of all this inspiring music and beautiful, pristine backdrop, captions pop up on the screen. And captions about this woman's loveless, sexless, awful marriage to her brute of a husband, in which they share a child together. And in the throes of this loveless, sexless brute of a marriage with her feckless husband, she sees another man that she knew before, and she knew him well, and they had an affair. And so in the backdrop of this beautiful crescendoing vibratos and music and the waves crashing and these captions about her discovering herself after having an affair, and questioning, should I feel bad about this affair? Nah, because that's where my story began. Presumably, obviously, she probably got a divorce at some point. And then, but this is where it gets great. This lady, she goes, I got pregnant by this other man along this dramatic backdrop. And got pregnant, basically having another family, right? You would think at some point in that video there would be a radical moment of accountability here, where it says, you know what? I was unhappy. I was in a sexless marriage with a brute of a husband and a 4-year-old daughter. I can't even look at anymore. I don't know if it's a 4-year-old daughter. I made that up. But I'm looking at this terrible family I have, and you know what? I destroyed it. Maybe it was already destroyed, but I put the nail in the coffin, right? And even though I was totally unhappy and I did something terribly wrong and immoral, and I apologize for all the people I've hurt, the family I finished off, and I hope to grow from it. That's what you would think you would get out of something like this. And I hope I grow for it, and I hope I become a better person out of this. Right. I would accept that. But no, that's where her story began. There was no accountability. There was no apologies, and that is what she's celebrating. That her story began because she destroyed her family, and that made me so mad. I know my dramatic recount of that video was terrible. I'm no actor,
but why did it get you mad?
But here's why it got me mad. So, really, to get to the heart of it. It riled some emotions in me, right? And part of that is the fact that this woman, she admittedly claimed that, obviously we don't have her ex-husband side of the story, right? But she said that this relationship was failing. It was failing enough where, and this is what she informs us by her captions, terrible captions, that the marriage was sexless and probably loveless. And she wasn't feeling herself. She lost herself, presumably, until she found this other man. Now, I think if something is wrong within a marriage, like if there's no sex, if one of the partners is really deeply unhappy with the marriage, in my mind, especially when there's a child involved, I think that's worth investigating, right? I think you made a commitment, whether it's before God or it's before your family, or it's, and obviously when you're married, it's before the state. You make this public proclamation that you are going to be with this person indefinitely, right? And now, obviously, there's moments where I think divorce is totally reasonable. If there's any abuse, if you have any, anything that can't be worked out, and it's just unhappy for the child, especially involved, and you're just getting vindictive. You keep working it out. At some point, it makes sense to end it, right? I'll give that. So if she's at a point where, hey, this marriage isn't what I want it to be, it needs to be investigated. And if through that process of investigation, through that process of whatever the case may be, she comes to the conclusion, yeah, you know what? I need a divorce. I may or may not agree with your reasonings, but at least I give you the credit that, hey, I did everything that I could, and I made an honest effort to resolve this, and it didn't work.
Right.
And that's what adults do. It didn't work, and you call it a day, and you make whatever sacrifices you need to make after a divorce. Okay, that's totally fine. But the fact that she had an affair and then got pregnant and then celebrates those things, because she questions in her video, am I the worst person ever? Well, if you're not accepting any accountability, yeah, you kind of are the worst person ever, and you should feel guilty about this. You're having a whole nother family. So whatever moral ground that you had to stand on in your in the initial moment that you said, hey, this isn't a good marriage, you lost all credibility.
Yeah.
And I think the part that really gets me upset is the fact that obviously we don't have her husband's perspective, her ex-husband's perspective. And then two, it's just a celebration of the radical individual. And this is something that we kind of talked about last time, is that it seems to be that our culture is shifting from family and community and sort of the greater good to what is the greatest thing for me. The individual's needs are more important than the needs of the family. Mm-hmm. And I think because we have this radical self-love apparatus that tells you it's okay to consume because that's what you do out of love for yourself. It's okay to do X, Y, and Z. It's okay to end your marriage because you were not fulfilled and you got fulfillment from another man. Like, that's okay. It's all about how consumption makes us feel, and how consumption is ultimately what gives us meaning. And that's where the geist of radical self-love, I think, comes in. Because when you see, and what makes it matters worse is this woman, I think I told you last time, is a self-help coach. I hope no one goes to her, because she'll justify and give you all the tools how to rationalize an affair and destroying your family with, with ideas of self-love and your story beginning. It sounds all flowery and pretty, but really, to me, that's what it synthesizes and boils down to, is that these people are just consuming, and they're using that as a way to fulfill themselves, and they justify it with radical self-love. Mm-hmm. And we have declining birth rates in this country, for example, and all throughout the West. And I can't help but feel that this is a major role in it. There's a pretty active debate, I think, and it's a good debate, is the lack of birth, the declining birth rate in our country, in the West more broadly. Is it because of the economy, or is it because of culture? I think both play a huge role, but I think culture is that tips the scale a little bit to give us that that declining rate. Mm-hmm. That'd be my take, anyways. So that's why I was frustrated, because what is fulfillment? Mm-hmm. If fulfillment is just consumption and until your heart's content, is that real fulfillment? I don't know. What do you think?
I'm going to sound like a prune. But
yeah.
I think a lot of your almost disappointment in her lack of understanding she had to rip apart families, mm-hmm. her own, is part of looking at the aspect as a good Christian. Mm-hmm. 'Cause there's definitely your suffering is a suffering brought out from yourself, mm-hmm. from like the Catholic teachings, right? And so you have to acknowledge that you are a sinful person, right? And so you have to be accountable.
Damn right.
Okay, so that's it. Feels like part of your disappointment's coming from that slice of pie.
Yes and no.
No, just a little. I'm just
No, that's why I'll give it to you. Yes and no. I think there is there's definitely that element that possibly a religious element to it. I'm not going to deny that, but I think more so, we talk about on the show a lot what it means to be a well-rounded and good person.
Sure.
And I think anyone in any discipline, right? You take accountability for your shortcomings. And is that a predominantly religious principle? Sure. But I think you can find this across broad spectrums of many disciplines, that accountability is paramount, is something that you need as a part of discipline.
100%.
So I mean, I take your point though. There's definitely the religious and moral undertones from it, but I mean, I think that's also, broadly speaking, where the values that we have in the West are derived from.
Right.
And
we're currently in a societal shift where a lot of people have turned away from the church.
Yeah.
And it's more so this self-love, finding peace within your own misery, or doing something about it. And that's where I think it gets a little murky with this lady, because in the end, we are in a consumer society where we are the capitalists of the world.
Yeah.
Or if not, we try to believe that we are.
Yeah.
And so to fulfill our dopaminergic needs because of, like you said, social media, we're going to go down this nasty little road where this influencer, because she's essentially an influencer.
Yeah. I think it's pretty small, but I mean, obviously bigger than we are. I think she's got 50,000.
30,000 likes on this one post?
No, I'm not saying it's small. I'm just saying as in terms of relative to major influencers.
And her hustle is to sell happiness.
Yeah.
And so she's showing you this thing that's challenging a deep-rooted Christian Catholic belief.
Yeah.
But then also trying to sell you on, that's when I understood happiness.
Yeah.
And so I definitely know for a fact that message is not like adhering to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
In anything, it's getting you triggered, so it's getting you to talk about it.
Yeah.
Which for a marketing standpoint is fantastic.
Yeah, I'll give her that.
But what she's really selling you, she's selling you happiness. And you can find happiness if you listen to me, because I've gone through so much hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's not saying this, but she's kind of showing you this.
Yeah.
And it's going against all of these values that we have as typical Americans, right? Who are God-fearing Americans, who believe in Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah.
If you go all the way down that road, this lady has figured out how to hit your buttons. And for those women, those men who find themselves precariously turned away from faith, turned away from trying to understand difficulties, and instead trying to find the easy fulfillment.
Yeah.
That's really what I think you're also seeing. And that's just a highlight on society.
Yeah.
She's trying to make a sale, bro. Like,
no,
and she's figured out how to hit all these buttons that either get her villainized or celebrated. Because for some who are already that far on that cliff, she's giving you essentially a parachute and says, jump. It's fine. It's okay. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think you're her target audience, but the algorithm knew this is going to trigger you. This is going to get you.
Algorithm.
This is going to get you to watch. This is going to get you either happy, upset, frightened, horny, something.
Yeah.
And we're going to throw it in front of you. And we're going to see what you're going to do. And you responded. And now we're talking about it.
I give it to you, man, from the marketing aspect. You're absolutely right. I agree with you. It's kind of a damn shame, man. They have fucking algorithm.
I'm pretty sure if you go back and look, there's a part 2.
Maybe.
Pretty sure.
Actually, I want to say there isn't. I think there's follow-ups, more life coach stuff, but I'm pretty confident there wasn't.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. I did peruse it real quick.
So
I didn't see a follow-up.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, she's figured out how to market her services.
Yeah.
For those people who need that parachute.
Yeah. So, but again, I think your analysis is not wrong. I agree with your analysis completely. It's just a shame that when there is a vacuum of where our culture is, and there does exist a vacuum because there is a constant struggle now between, what we would say are Western values and everything else. Western values are in flux. They're not universal in adoption, right? So now this marketplace is flooded with all these different values, and you see how the culture is responding to them, and it's just sad to see that some of these values that we adhere to, that I think are overall, even if you take the religion out of it, that are good values to live by and that bring you a truly fulfilling life, that we're now going down a path where everything is that much easier. You know what I mean? So it's not everything you're saying is right, and I agree with, but I just, it makes my heart break a little bit for where we're going as a culture, because the reality is that the values that we have is what ultimately gave us the foundation to create our societies and things like that, and make things happen. So it's the decline of civilization, I guess. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But like I said, I think even if you take God or Jesus or any of those deities out of it, you just have the moral foundations. It still stands to reason. I think that if we move away from those, we're moving away from what has made the society great in the first place. I don't know, man. And you see it though, because people are looking for fulfillment constantly. But I think they've been sold the idea that fulfillment should be easy. And then, I think true fulfillment is not easy. You have to do hard things. And I think, especially when it comes to like work or marriage, like in order to have the best marriage or be really great at a sport or, good at podcasting, right? You have to do it and you have to work hard at it, and which is one of those foundational values. And now we're stripping that work out of it. We're making it easy. And then you see what kind of fulfillment people are having or trying to attain. And that fulfillment that they're trying to attain is like you're chasing a high. You get high for the first time on fucking heroin or something, and then you're always going to try to get that same high again. You'll never get it. So it's frustrating to see, to say the least, is my point.
Sure.
I don't know if that makes any sense. I could just be barking at the rooftops and everyone's like, shut the fuck up, you old man. That's probably what's going on. But I mean, what do you think? What do you think about people's attempt to create fulfillment or to go after fulfillment? Like, what's your take on that? Why do we crave fulfillment? Let's start with that fundamental question.
Why do we crave fulfillment? I don't think it's we crave fulfillment. I think it's we crave we can crave being like a conduit, in the sense of, in order for you to do something great, do something that has any significance or has any meaning, you have to number one, put in some work. But then two, there's some lines of thinking that want to say it's the muse who's talking to you, that it's not really you who's doing it. It's the creative muse that's coming through you that would allow you to accomplish things. And the only way that you can get there is by doing more and more and more and more work at it.
Yeah.
So if you're a baseball player, the more baseball you play, the more those baseball muses can talk to you.
Yeah.
If you're an actor, the more time you spend understanding what your job's supposed to do, then that muse can go through you, right?
Yeah.
And if we go all the way through that ancient Greek concept of this muse, it's an actual spirit, right?
Yeah.
It's a being. It's something that sits with you, talks to you, it communicates. It's not you playing the guitar.
Yeah.
It's the muse communicating through you to make it happen. But as soon as you let your ego think that it's you, that you're the one that's doing it, now we fall into problems. Now we want to own, manipulate, control, manage, assume that we can just call upon it when we need it.
Yeah.
But that's not how the muse works. That's not how the muse works.
Yeah.
You want to write a song, you're working on it, you have to sit with it for a long time before it actually comes out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it never comes out until the very end.
Yeah.
You never know, but you have to sit with it. You have to try.
Yeah.
But if you think you're so high and mighty that you don't need to do all this work, that's your ego. That's the big ego. That's where you think you're bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
In other words, you think you are a god.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's something else working through you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm taking the woo-woo stance.
Yeah.
Because as a creative, I think that that's kind of what allows me to do everything that I do.
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm a full-blown, I can't remember what the acronym is for being a mechanic right now.
Yeah.
But I'm not a mechanic in that sense. I understand cars. I know how to work on them. I know how to tinker with them. But I also know how to find the people who can help me get to where I need to go.
Yeah.
So long as we let this thing travel through us, right? If we kind of look at sports or anything else of that thing that I've done at a decent level, playing music at a decent level, it's not that I'm special.
Yeah.
I think I've been able to figure out you need to put a lot of work into this.
Yeah.
And if you do that, good things come from it.
Yeah.
And just having that approach is much different than saying, oh no, I'm amazing at this. I've played at this festival, I've been invited here, I've done that, and I've done this and that. But it's all by chance, luck. It's not like I drew this out on paper and said, I'm going to go here and then here and then here and then here and then.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. It just happened by just being there and doing that work. But I think today we live in a society, we live in a time where you can be that true creative, that true muse, that true entrepreneur, that true whatever it is through a facade of social media. You can manipulate followers' views through new tools.
Yeah.
If you figure out how to be controversial and just hit the right aspects, you can gain notoriety or infamy. You can take it all the way to becoming a president.
That's a good point.
But if you know how to manipulate the herds, the mass media herds currently, and understand where those mediums sit, then that's what gives you power, right? That's what gives you that ability. So maybe we're not able to post something about going into an affair because we haven't done that.
Yeah.
And we won't get that kind of views because that takes a special kind of work that we're not equipped for.
Yeah.
So I think it's like most people end up finding their path But if you have an intentionality towards it, you can get to it a lot quicker. If you find certain ways where you're trying to punch holes or trying to destroy your enemy, take over, conquer, you can do it that way. Or you can, it's all an approach that's viable.
Yeah.
But I think it's really your intentionality.
Yeah.
And so when we're seeing from this lady's post, this nasty, almost eerie, makes us irk a little.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that was done with the intention to do so.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to sell. I'm trying to sell this course. And I'm trying to profit off of my misery. Because this misery helped me such and such way, or that's how I'm understanding it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you have a war chest big enough that you can throw ads at it or pay influencers, or you can change the whole thing. We live in a place where we can do that. We don't just have to write epics and heroic stories about it and let time see who picks up Homer and who doesn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you put that intention, it happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just say someone listened to this and they say, well, what's the difference? Right. You know, you brought up the concept of the muse, and it flows through us, and we have to have the work, and we do have to do the work, and that muse shines through. And it's that we lose that when our ego takes over. But what's the difference then? What would you say to someone who says, well, what's so wrong with the social media part? What's so wrong with that, with what that woman is doing? Or, what's wrong with taking credit for something I did? You know what I mean? What would you respond to that?
There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
I don't see that there's anything wrong with it, but just kind of understand who are you benefiting?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's ultimately something. There's the way that this structure is set up is to benefit someone.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Right? Always.
Yeah.
Is OnlyFans inherently wrong? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's a tool that allows the owner to make money off of everyone else.
Yeah.
Because the owner goes home with pretty fat checks.
Okay, when you say the owner, do you mean the actual creators?
The actual groups that own that website, in this particular case, ends up taking home profits from each individual contributor to the whole thing, right? Same is true with Facebook.
Yeah.
You can garnish your own following. There's nothing inherently wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of up to you where those morals take you, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have a page on social media, on Facebook, about loving Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And you can easily have one about devil worshiping and have just as many followers,
if not more.
So it's not to say that it's inherently wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool, it's a vehicle, but ultimately who's benefiting from your contribution into that?
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah. OnlyFans.
The OnlyFans owners.
You see, I agree with you in the sense that, and this is where it gets a little bit murky, right? Because if let's say OnlyFans is we're considering them a publisher, right? And that they, or a platform rather, that they can, they're not responsible for the individual creators.
Mm-hmm.
They have guidelines and stuff that they may, they follow, but it's just a platform. And so that, like with Facebook, if you have a Christian themed Facebook page and a devil worship themed Facebook page, neither of those interests matter to Facebook because Facebook is a platform. I guess the problem with that whole idea is that if Facebook then interferes with one or the other and interferes on behalf of the other, right? That's when you get
or there's a preference.
That's what I'm saying.
So
if like Facebook said, hey, we're not going to give any content or we're not going to give any traffic to the devil worshiping website on Facebook, and we're going to give would boost all the traffic to the Christian one, obviously that would be a problem for Facebook. Then at that point it exceeds that platform, and now it's a publisher, and now it's saying, hey, we as a publisher have this agenda, and this is what we want to promote. And then so you maybe don't lose anything, but something is different at that point, right?
Sure. Yeah. And we do see it.
Yeah.
Let's not go too far away. In our generation, we saw the LGBTQ plus IA movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which started with a few letters and over the years continued to grow.
Yeah.
And how a lot of different companies embraced it.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it with the Black Lives Matter movement. Mm-hmm. We saw it with the defund the police movement.
Yeah.
We saw it with the Wall Street movement.
Yeah.
We see it
everywhere.
We constantly see it. But which actually becomes part of the guidelines.
Yeah.
And so I think we get to this lady because if we're so pushing for self-love and self-preservation and ability to love anyone or anything.
Yeah.
Now, if you're the media ones and you're making that part of your agenda, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
That we would continue getting that far off on different cliffs.
Yeah.
To allow things as such.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I think this whole thing is connected.
So it's a fair point. I'll give you that. I still think, and again, this goes back just to my personal values, right? Mm-hmm. And, it still says something about where our culture is. And if we are to be a society that continues to be as successful as we have been, we have this vacuum of ideas that, I mean, let's just be honest. Do I think OnlyFans is inherently wrong and what some of the creators do and what the people profit? I mean, you said best, we're a capitalist country, we're a consumption-based country and economy. So on that level, sure, like there's nothing wrong with it, and I wouldn't advocate for it to disappear or be controlled in any way. But the fact that we're there, just a mere fact, I think it says something about our culture. There's another video I saw that was a little weird too, where all these men were asked, would you want your daughter to have OnlyFans?
Okay.
And then they all responded, no, absolutely not. But then when you input the money in there, oh, they're going to make $2 million a month. Hell yeah, I want OnlyFans for my daughter. You get that bag because presumably they get to profit off of it a little bit. So it just seems weird that our morals have got to that point where obviously money has always been an important role in our country and our culture and stuff like that. But at least on the face, it seems like there's no values associated with how we get that money. And like I said, I could be the old man shouting from the rooftop, you damn kids, get off my grass, and I'll wholly accept that. But it's just a little disappointing to see where we are going. Whether it's inherently wrong or not is a question that can be debated. Should it be stopped? By what mechanism, right? That's the question. Should it be stopped by force? Or should it be government coercion or anything like that? No, it doesn't. But I guess we just need alternatives and stuff to reshift us and recalibrate us. But I think we've already kind of passed that threshold. So Pandora's box is open.
See, but I think it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Constant.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We can look at ancient societies, current societies, and anything in the middle and see, okay, there was a moment where we were really wild, fucking buck wild, and then we got conservative,
mm-hmm.
And we got buck wild again.
So I get what you're saying.
And we got conservative.
And I think historically that pattern holds true. I think the problem though is that we live in an era where now probably every year we're going to advance technologically speaking more so than we ever have, right? During the Industrial Revolution, for example, some historians would point out this was the most technological change that people have ever seen since, even in our age today. But I think that's slowly, not even slowly, that's changing. Now we're going to have we have artificial intelligence, right? Large language models and different AI software that's out there. Not software, but different AIs that are out there, right?
Sure.
AI is going to get to a point where it's going to start developing faster than we could ever imagine. Ray Kurzweil? He's the futurist, makes a lot of future predictions, some of which have been fairly accurate. And, he had predicted years ago that AI would have singularity and towards the end of this decade, the 2020s into 2030. Now, singularity basically, the way I understand it, is and I'm not by any means a expert or a technologist or can really speak credibly on these issues, but it's still interesting, and that's not this podcast. But basically, singularity is we're going to be 1,000x technological growth daily. Mm-hmm. And so we have a pandemic of loneliness in this country, right? You have people who, I think I heard a number recently, like, I don't want to repeat the number, but a huge population of Americans are single and have never been married into their 30s and their 40s and stuff like that, and actually actively refuse to get married, refuse to be in relationships, for one reason or the other, right? Everyone has their own individual reasons, but it's just interesting. That's where we are as a culture. And what are people turning to? People are online more. And so if you can get a girlfriend on OnlyFans and pay $12 a month, and just consume her content, and she'll talk to you, which is probably her manager who's actually talking to you all dirty. That's going to be a lot more satisfying than contributing to a relationship, right? And then you have, just because people are so not connected with each other anymore, people forget how to date. People forget how to talk to men, forget how to talk to women. And all these experiences are online. So you see all these women who are like, man, I wish just some guy would come talk to me at the bar. Maybe I don't like him, maybe I do, but then no one does, right? So I think that kind of technology is going to exacerbate some of what we've seen, because look at the point you made earlier. You said the algorithm. You're absolutely right. The algorithm probably led me to that video because they know I would react negatively to it. And that's I'm not even online that much, to be honest. So imagine people with an algorithm that's even more advanced than it is now. It's hard to imagine the ebb and flow being as consistent as it has been, historically speaking, due to the advent of technology. I'm not saying we should be more conservative or less conservative, anything like that, but there is fundamental values that the West is founded on, right? And those values are inherently good. Now, I think as a culture, it's something we should stand on, but I don't know. It seems like we're moving away from it faster than we ever have. But I do agree with you. I think history does ebb and flow. The pendulum does swing. But we'll see if the pendulum doesn't get stuck at some point. Because I think technology kind of changes the game a bit, man.
I don't think so. Personally, I don't really think so. I think it's another tool.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it isn't a tool.
No. But remember, books are technology.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure at some point
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at all these books. They're not going to read. They're only going to read, and they're not going to go out anymore.
Yeah.
Because all you want to do is learn.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure at some point that might have been an issue. Maybe that's why we had arranged marriages, because like we were book nerds.
Yeah, too many book nerds.
They had so much money, they had too many books, and they wanted to read all of them. So we have to force them to mate.
Yeah. That's why it happened. That's how that developed.
Had nothing to do with conquest.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. It's just books. Just books.
Yeah.
Too many nerds.
But do you think books are comparable to what AI is?
Yes.
But how so? You don't think there's any difference? And just in terms strictly of speaking of, this is a new technology, this is what the ideas around that technology were, and this is the reactions to it. Do you think there's no difference in that? Because I would argue there is a big difference. But here, what would you say?
It's us.
Uh-huh.
It's part of us. We're the ones that fed the AI to understand. So even if it's understood everything of the whole wide world, it's only because it's understood whatever we've been able to capture.
Yeah.
So it's literally all of the gnosis, the knowledge that we have,
Yeah.
into something that could use it as a database. So whenever it's called upon, think about this, think about that, boom.
That's okay, but that's still different. So if you consider AI, right, and eventually AI, if it hasn't already, and I could be way off here, but if it hasn't already, the AI and the algorithm working in conjunction with one another, right? That is inherently different than a writer or an author
100%
getting a book published.
But it already uses the concepts that we know. You see, so you could tell an algorithm, think about social psychology.
Yeah.
And emotional psychology. Create an algorithm that highlights Freud, highlights Jung, highlights, and just name off what you want. And then it'll give you that algorithm.
Yeah.
But if you as an individual wanted to do that, well, now you would have to study that. You'd have to have studied this. You'd have to have studied that. You'd have to have studied this, and then put it together.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, AI is great to just give you a framework.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And so if you now have a framework, what we're good at is we're builders, we're tool makers.
Yeah.
So we'll utilize this new reference to help it, whatever it is that we need.
But so you're missing an important point there. That's AI at this moment. Now, AI is constantly developing, and it's going to develop far beyond its current capabilities. It's going to be integrated more and more with our lives. And now my argument is really that, number one, you and I don't have control of any algorithm, right?
Okay.
So if the control for a platform like Facebook is, hey, we have this out, or YouTube or whoever, Instagram, they have a proprietary algorithm that they have control over. So, we don't know the intents. We don't know. We know their intent. Their intent is to make money, right? That's their primary goal, is to make money.
Sure.
And if we can create an algorithm that gets people sucked in and doom scrolling, people are on their phone for 13, 15 hours a day, I would say that that's wholly different than reading a book and being able to read a book for a couple hours and put it down and still go outside. You know what I mean? There's a lot more, these inputs are a lot greater, I think, than reading a book would be.
Okay.
And has a lot more manipulating, controlling factors in there. Because again, they study psychology, right? Look at the psychology of Las Vegas. It's interesting stuff. They figured this stuff out, and now it's at such a hyper level than it had ever been, and it's only going to get amplified.
Right.
AI is only going to get better. These algorithms are only going to get better, and if their goal is to make money and to profit, which is what every good company's number one goal should be, right? These systems are going to have more tentacles in us than I would care for. And and that's different to me than a book. This is different. This is a whole. It's an older technology. It's not a brand new technology, but it's a technology that's growing faster than I think we can comprehend.
But it's still a choice.
I mean, yes and no. A choice for who?
You,
for
the individual
consumer.
Yeah.
No, I agree that there is that choice factor to it for sure.
Let me frame it in a different way.
Okay.
I have a few friends who work in tech.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disclose where they work.
Tech.
But it's big tech.
Yeah.
And would you be surprised if I were to tell you that they have families and these families are not allowed to use their technology?
Yes. It does not surprise me.
It does
not surprise me.
That does not surprise you.
No.
But it's a choice.
Yeah.
And they're told, don't use it. Why?
Because the company knows.
Knows what?
Knows how, knows the effects of their technology that it can have on a person.
So then, use it? Don't use it?
Well, I mean, who are you asking?
An individual. If you knew that employees of a lot of big tech don't like using their own products, I think that kind of gives you an indication. Like,
sure,
maybe don't spend all your time on your phone, on Facebook, on Instagram.
Okay. But see, that individual has inside knowledge, right?
No.
What do you mean no? If they work for the company, they have some internal knowledge. Maybe it's not, they don't know all the company's proprietary secrets.
But it's no different than when we were saying discipline.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it's a choice. It goes back to a choice.
I agree with that.
And so if you choose to be a conduit, going back to that muse, for social media, then you will end up scrolling.
Yeah.
Versus, like the lady we're discussing, she's figured out, I'm going to utilize it.
Yeah.
And figure out how to utilize it for the business to make money. But I maybe won't use it. We don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just hypothetically throwing out there.
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't have her family on. Maybe she doesn't post about who her ex-husband was or her current husband is.
Yeah.
There's a definition where things split.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the course of understanding your role with the technology.
No, so I will, I don't mean to interrupt you. So I will absolutely concede that, yes, there is an action an individual must take in order, if you don't engage with it, obviously you don't get the effects, right? But when you do engage with it and you make that decision, there's elements in there where, I guess, like you said, you become a conduit, right? That it's hard. It's like sugar, right? The way our body has genetic or has evolutionary reactions to sugar, right? Because sugar was a scarce resource, and that anytime you get sugar, your body would store it, because when are you going to ever get this treat again, right? Where now everything's widely available, so your body does the same thing and almost gets a dependency on it. So yes, I agree. There is individual actions, individual agency that plays a role in our choices, right? We have to make good choices to get good outcomes. But once a choice is made, it shouldn't be that difficult to get off of it, right? And I think if the company's decision is the primary goal is to make profit and make money, which I agree is every company, a good company's goal should be, is to make money. You know, it becomes more addictive, right? And people who are already experiencing loneliness and have all sorts of other things, these things get exemplified. Now, I agree, personal agency matters, and why it's good to consume other stuff, counter stuff, to get you off of those things. and it's important to recognize, hey, we might have an issue. Those things all still at play, but my argument is that the technology is different. It's more addictive than if we're comparing it to books, right?
Of course. But
so, I don't know. What were you gonna say?
Goes back down to having the choice.
Yeah.
Of knowing what it is that you want to do, spend your time, grow, become, all of that.
Yeah.
And so if you're just blindly not really paying attention,
yeah,
then easily 2-3 hours of your life could be consumed on your phone.
Yeah.
Watching videos, scrolling, doing something else, completely non-productive to what you could be doing.
That's true.
I don't know when the last time you got completely engrossed in something and just doing it and completely forgetting about everything else.
Yeah. The other day.
Doing what?
Playing my bass.
But that was a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
You weren't on social media scrolling while you were doing it at the same time?
Yeah.
Were you streaming it?
I was not. I did record it, though.
So you're still using all that technology?
I guess.
And if you wanted to, you can utilize the AI at some point and say, AI, here's my recording this, here's this. I want to post it to this and I want to take it here. Help me figure out how I need to do that so I can psychologically hit my viewers.
Yeah.
So that I can keep them on. What do I need to do? And it'll tell you.
Let's go back to the central theme of where this discussion is centered on. This all goes back to the ebb and flow, right? And I think you're absolutely right about all this technology, right? There is a personal decision-making quality in there. But I think ultimately, as you said too, this stuff is a lot more, let's just call it what it is, a lot more addictive than books had or could ever be.
Maybe.
Right? I would say, yeah. Because there's a lot more elements in there that are outside of the individual too. So if we're going back to what the idea was, that culture ebbs and flows, I agree. But I think with this technology, we're not going to ebb. The ebb and flow is going to be a different pattern, significantly different pattern than it's ever been, historically speaking, right? And if everything is exacerbated, all of human behavior gets exacerbated on these technologies, right? It's hard to see, without, at the risk of sounding like Chicken Little, it's hard to see where this changes, and we get back to a place of more balance, right? Without fully getting rid of these technologies. Because here goes the thing: these technologies are here to stay. They're never going. They're not going anywhere, and they're only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it is what it is at this point. I think it seeing where it ebbs back or ebbs in a different direction is hard to imagine. I guess that's where I'm at.
If we look at historically, though, it's usually the collective that helps define something.
Yeah.
Fans, right? A group of people who love something.
Yeah.
The fan base, the fanatics.
Yeah.
Right? But in order to squeeze a little more profit, wouldn't it be better, instead of just looking at it as a collective or as a group or as a fan base, to now say the individual?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the shift that we've seen with social media. Because instead of just hitting all of the Justin Bieber fans, we're able to pinpoint who actually went to the show.
Yeah.
Because you had to scan a QR code that allows the ticket company to have numbers, to have demographics to know.
Yeah.
Oh, these people came, they checked in, they were on social media, we saw these videos, we know exactly the effect of this show.
Yeah.
On an individual's per capita basis, should we want to go that deep.
Yeah.
So in trying to also extract more money from us, the people who live in any country, we need to enlighten the people to tell them, you have the ability to choose.
Yeah.
You want to go Go. You want to watch the show? We can show it to you here.
Yeah.
So it's also giving power to the individual.
Okay.
But it's at the expense for more dollars. And it is.
But that's exactly my point is, though, is that if the argument is that the ebb and flow cycle is not going to be the same, it's going to be completely different if that cycle is even a thing anymore, because now you're saying, okay, these companies have the ability to pinpoint accurately the individual that went to the show and provide them quote unquote choices.
Right.
But that choice is a facade, right? Because if you have a choice
or
to
not.
spend, or I mean, you can have the choice to not spend your money, right? But if everything is that pinpoint marketed, right? You as an individual have that agency to make a decision, but at the same token, there's a lot more factors involved in the psychological processes that they're using against you to make those decisions. So if their whole input is and their whole thing is to make money, then they win, right? They make the money because if they know exactly how your psychology works, they can manipulate it enough to make you make a decision. Oh, do I want to buy A or do I want to buy B? Not, hey, should I maybe not buy this at all, right? Mm-hmm. Even though that choice exists, it's not highlighted, right? So that's just my point. If everything is so hyper individualized as it is, how do you ebb back to something that's community oriented? You got to live outside of that universe, but it's getting increasingly difficult to live outside of that universe as it's becoming more and more engrossed in our lives. That's the point I'm making. I don't think you're wrong in your analysis at all. I think you're absolutely right in how these systems work and design. But again, just kind of centering back on what the discussion is, these technologies have become so good where your individual choice of choosing to do something or to not do something, it gets a little bit more difficult at the individual level, especially when it's so hyper-focused. That's all. That's my point.
And remember, religion was trying to save souls.
Yeah. Right?
We don't want your soul now. We just want your money. So eventually you're going to see another kind of cultural revolution, if that's kind of what you're asking, because of AI. But it's kind of now understanding either I work and function as a corporation, or I'm just heard. And that's what we've seen.
Yeah.
So we've seen this empowerment that social media gives people to become influencers.
Yeah.
And that influencer ends up becoming in this country a corporation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the empowerment that you get from it.
Yeah.
But it's your choice. It's your choice if you want to do what we're doing.
Yeah. I agree.
Nobody's paying us to do this.
Absolutely for free.
So then why do we do it?
Why do we do this?
Why?
Well, for a lot of personal reasons. I think we enjoy each other's conversation, number one. I feel like it's something that, I derive value from and I enjoy. And so that's one of the reasons I do it. What about you?
I like the learning aspect.
Yeah, that too.
There's a huge learning curve to figure this out.
Yeah.
And if we're taking a reflective approach on what value social media has,
yeah,
I, as a creative, need to know how to use this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're left behind.
Yeah.
Because your work won't get shown.
That's true.
So, or you go the traditional route, where I got to go find, the Medici family to go commission my art.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kanye is going to pay me any money.
You might. Just tape a banana to a
Let me
wall.
just call Taylor Swift real quick.
Taylor.
Or do you get your own community?
Yeah.
Or like I told you earlier, we're starting a clubhouse.
Yeah.
To me, it's all the same because it's all just a tool.
Yeah.
For whoever wants to use it.
Okay. Yes, you're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong on any of these points. Maybe we're speaking past each other, but I think as much as is a tool, right? I think these tools can be used for malevolence or good, right? I think what we're trying to do here is have insightful conversations, educate ourselves, because speaking for me for a second, I'm not perfect in all of this too, and that's one of the reasons. Another reason why I think I take a lot of value out of the show and why we do it is because this is a personal journey, right? Mm-hmm. And something you choose to do for benevolent reasons, to wanting to improve my life, right? And try to be the best version of myself, right? And I think for me and for others, I think there's value to try to be the best version of yourself through the hardest possible means, and to make sacrifices and to do hard things. And that's another thing we've talked a lot about the show, about the doing hard things. I think I said this on the last one, but the road to heaven often feels like hell, and the road to hell often feels like heaven. And so, yes, these are tools, and I think it's important to use these tools and to know these tools to grow what we're doing here. But just as tools can be used for good reasons and benevolent reasons, they can use for awful reasons. And I think that's where I believe anyways, when you have tools that are used negatively, it's going to create a different culture, and it has. And so if the discussion is we're not going back, we've already set in stone what it is. We can only move forward now. There's no ebb and flow anymore, or the pattern of how it used to be is broken. I still think that holds true, whether these are tools or not. I mean, there's tools that are taking us somewhere we've never been before, that a book or the printing press could have ever taken us. Again, am I sounding like the old man on the rooftop? Probably, but it's just how I see things, I guess. But it's still a fascinating conversation. I'm sinking too deep into the chair.
All good.
But any other thoughts? I think we beat the horse on this one. Beat the dead horse quite a bit. With that said, I think we should probably wrap it up.
All right.
On the last video, we announced some other stuff that we're doing. Should we do it on this one?
Go for it.
Yeah, fuck it. We'll do it. So, Below the Trees, we're a podcast here. I think we're a pretty good podcast. At least for me, and I don't want to speak for John, but this whole process is, and kind of like what he said too, I guess, is about learning the technical stuff, but also learning the more philosophical things, reading more, doing things like that. So with that, we want to grow our channel, and we want to do different things that provide some value. And so we're going to create additional content in the near future, new content that's not podcast, that is scripted, and exploring some pretty interesting what ifs and big topics. So anything you want to say about that?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Well, we appreciate you watching this Below the Trees podcast. Thanks for joining us for this conversation. If you made it this far, or if you watched this for a few minutes and then you scrolled to the end, whatever the case may be, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. I'm good with it. Hey, one take, baby.